Welcome everyone to another series of our Global Employability Expert webinar. So today we have a very interesting and useful topic, which is around projects. A skill, how to create great projects is something that is going to be super valuable in any career field you undertake. And so for that, today we have Arda Aksular. We're going to discover who he is, but before we jump into that, let's remember how our webinar works, okay? So basically, remember, we are recording this session, so you can watch it later on again or share it with anyone whom you think may be interested in the topic. If you have any question, please share them in the Q&A section we have below. Write any comments, any questions you have, and then we are going to cover them after Arda finishes sharing his presentation. And then if you have any questions regarding your program, please reach out to your IEM. Remember, the IEM is a person you have been communicating with who is not your supervisor and who has been emailing you and giving you all the info about the program. So let's meet Arda. So since 2012, Arda has been working as an European Union Affairs expert at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Turkey. He has monitored over 100 European Union projects and became a training coordinator in 2022. Besides projects, he is interested in science, games, gamification, and STEM education. He has over 80 videos on YouTube and over 20 games downloaded more than 200,000 times on Google Play. That's a very big number. Arda graduated from Ankara University and received a Master of Science and a PhD in sociology from Middle East Technical University in Turkey. And he has also obtained a second Master's of Science . So in this webinar today, Arda will tell us what a project is. We're going to learn what a project is, why we need them, and what their life cycle is. Projects have a life cycle. He will tell us all about it. He will also share what the milestones of the project's design phase are, some bad practices that perhaps are not that bad, and what makes a great project, among many other interesting things that are going to be super valuable for your career. Okay, so thank you very much. Welcome, Arda. Thank you for being here today.
Okay, welcome. It is a pleasure to be here. So I guess you see my presentation. You hear my voice, it's clear. So I am Arda Aksular, and today we are going to cover how to create a great project or great projects. Okay, let's go. So let's talk about great projects. Probably you know this diagram. This is normal distribution. I have come up with this diagram probably when I was in the college, and it is a really interesting diagram because it says many things about the society. It says actually most of the people in a society has been in some certain levels. For instance, think about the classes. In classes, most of the people, in terms of, the scores, are in medium level. Some of them are a little better, and some of them has excellent performance, and some of them are below expectations, and a lower of them also serious underperformance. So thinking about some projects, some great projects, I am comparing the projects with this diagram. And up to now, I have monitored maybe more than 100 projects. And unfortunately, I haven't seen a great project. So this part of the diagram, this 1% of the diagram, is absent. There are some few good projects, but most of them are average. And there are unfortunately many vast projects. So I can say that there is no great project. And this last part of the diagram, goes here. And so at least 20% of the projects are generally very underperformance. So the first lesson to get here, there is no great project. So our title is a little ironic at the moment. Maybe more important question is that why do we need projects? Well, we have funds. These are funds. Funds can be funds of a national institution, an international institution. It can be a company or something like that. United Nations, European Union, something like that. So we have funds. And here we have a target. So in order to achieve this target, this objective, we are using funds. By using these funds, we need a tool, and the projects are tools. There are also some programs which are composed by the projects. For instance, in European Union projects, we have IPA, which is a big program with many different projects. We are using this tool to achieve a specific result. So if you don't have projects, you cannot use the funds. In most of the mechanisms, you need some kind of project or some kind of program to use in order to facilitate the funds. Let's think about the project and project's life cycle. Actually, everything is a project. Your education life, your marriage, purchasing a car, job applications, scholarship applications, internship applications, these are all projects. Let's say these are micro projects, but these are still projects. So when we think about the word, pro means forward and jacere means to true in Latin. And as a very formal identification, we can say a project is a set of activities to achieve an objective. But the important thing is that the life cycle of a project is really important. In my case, for instance, thinking about the European Union projects, people think that a project can be started in 6 months, which is not the case. We have to think about PCM, which is project cycle management. So the first part of the PCM is finding the idea. After that, we analyze this idea and formulate our project. After that, we need an assessment phase. Someone who is going to provide the funds, who is going to finance that project, will assess our project. In some cases, we have pre-assessment, we have a general assessment, short notice, these kinds of things. But in general, we need some kind of assessment. After that, some institution provides funds to this project. Sometimes more than one institution provides funds for the project, which means co-financing of the project. After that, the project starts. Start means implementation phase has been commenced. During the implementation, we do the activities of the project in general. We can have seminars, opening event, closing event, preparation of some reports, and also project will be monitored in some certain conditions. After that, we have evaluation phase. So life cycle is longer than we expect. For instance, in the European Union projects, it is about 5 years. If we be realistic, it is more than 5 years. So the second lesson, maybe about the projects, is life cycle is an important issue, and it can be much more longer than we expect. In different kind of projects, in different mechanisms, it may change, it may transform, but especially in the international projects, it is more than 1 year. So it's not something so easy to have a project to start, to implement, to finish. Even in the European Union projects, finishing the implementation doesn't mean that everything is finished. In the evaluation phase, in the post-implementation phase, you have certain things to do. So, in general, project cycle is longer in most of the project mechanisms. And as you can see, this is a cycle. This is a cycle. Why this is a cycle instead of a very linear process? Because the things actually you learn from this process provides feedbacks for the new projects and programs. So in general, we say project cycle management, not project management. This is the phrase. So let's give an example. For instance, this is a little project humor, which I like to create so much. If we consider Turkey's European Union candidacy process, maybe some of you are familiar. Yes, we are at the gates of the European Union for over 40 years. It is closing to 50 years. So if we consider this as a project, yes, the project's life cycle can be much more longer than we expect. This is the reality. So let's come to idea. Do you have any idea about these pictures? What are these pictures, or when these drawings are created? Of course, you don't have to find the correct, completely exact time, exact years, but maybe you can guess which century, which decade. Mirta, can they use the chat function at the moment? Is it possible? Okay, so if you write your ideas to chat, maybe we can see your ideas. What do you think about these drawings? What can they be, or when they have been created? Any idea? Okay. Prediction of future text, yes, of course, nice.
We have
1940, 1960, good. Okay, right picture down, scary, yeah, I feel same. 1920, okay, so, okay, let me share you the answer. Thank you for contributions, great. It is at the end of 19th century. So probably it was in let's say 1899 or something like that, but end of the last decade of the 19th century. So French artisans are asked to draw these kinds of pictures. And the question was that try to predict the daily life in millennium, 2000, I mean. So they created these kinds of pictures. So what you see in these kinds of pictures? Well, actually, there's a cleaner here. This is a remote cleaner, which we use today, which we really use. There is a submarine, but it is used by the benefit of an animal. And there are some electricity functions. They are using some headphones, as you can see. So it is somehow true. We are using these kinds of things today. So it is successful. But on the other hand, they predicted the future by using their current technology. So there is no wireless, for instance, completely wireless technology here, or not a real submarine, not a real functional self-propelled submarine, but there are still very great predictions. So the idea is that here, in order to find our project idea, we have to be creative while staying in the borders. So we have always a great place to stay creative, to find an idea. Be creative, but we have always some borders. We have to stay in the borders. Let's talk about them. Okay, another question is, this is a mobile phone. This is created in, I think, 1993. And this is IBM Simon, which is a touch screen telephone, which is the first touch screen telephone. But interestingly, we haven't used this telephone for 15 years. And this is the cover of Forbes magazine. And we have used Nokia for maybe 15 years, from the mid-90s to mid-20s. And the Forbes magazine says that Nokia, 1 billion customers. Can anyone catch the cell phone king? Interestingly, nobody used this IBM Simon touch screen telephones until that time. They were in the market, but they were not popular. Which one was popular? The Nokia. And you know the time of this photo. This is from the presentation of Steve Jobs. It is considered one of the best presentation in history, probably the best one. Do you know the time of this photo? Which year? Yes. Everyone knows. Great. Yeah, it is so ironic, isn't it? Because this is the same year of this cover. And in a few years, iPhone, the first iPhone, became the leader of telephone industry. And ironically, Nokia lost its position very rapidly. So what we would like to say here is that how and why Steve Jobs succeeded. What is the difference? This technology was available at that time, 15 years ago. But now Steve Jobs came up and said that this is the new telephone we are going to use, and he succeeded. Why? The idea is, yes, your idea is important, but you have to keep it until the correct time, correct place, and you have to share it with the correct people. So let me check. Yeah, open to changes. Yeah. let's say this is about the correct time and correct place, correct investment. By the time of Steve Jobs, 2007, we have already using internet. We were taking photos by our telephones, but much more importantly, we had social media. Social media facilitates these functions very, very strongly. So it was the correct time. And this brings us the elements of a good project in general. So the first thing is a good idea. You have to have a good idea, a bright idea, a specific idea. For instance, I see many projects like doing some meetings, but nobody provides you some funds just doing for some meetings. It is not the idea of a project. This idea includes the suitable conjuncture. It should be in the suitable time. It should be in the correct time. And finally, you have to consider the needs of funding institution. It can be a state, a company, an international organization, a national organization, but you have to consider the needs. This is just 5% of the project. So I see several people, they say that they have a great idea, very great idea, and this is the first time they are telling this idea to anyone. It is okay, it can be a great idea, there's no problem. But the thing is that you have to be aware of that your idea is just 5% of a project or a product. Second one is 25%, which is creating a good end product or writing a good project, your proposal, I mean. It should be a working product. It should solve some problems. It should be tested. There should be some kind of quality assurance process. It should be well developed, well written. So this is 25%. Third, promotion. You have to invest your project or your product. This is the reality of the world. You have to mobilize some resources. Marketing is always needed. Well, by telling about the resources, I'm not just saying you have to pay so much money, you have to spend so many funds. It's not that. Sometimes it's funds, sometimes your labor, sometimes an infrastructure, but you have to know that you have to invest on your project. By just waiting, you can take nothing. So you always have to invest. And fourth one is network. As Mirta argued, LinkedIn is a very important, very efficient way of network. So you have to use these kinds of networks. Their benefits are much more than you can expect, actually. They provide you easy solutions, very rapid, very cost-efficient solutions, very rapid feedbacks. They provide you the possibility to reach gatekeepers, some gatekeepers. So networking is really important, which is 30%. And the last one is fortune. Fortune is important. Fortune is a multiplier. So how can we make our fortune? By trying. Trying increases the chance. So don't blame yourself for some unlucky conditions, but try, just try again and again. This is important. And considering all of this picture, you have to reach at least 60%. You have to take something from somewhere, from some elements, and if you can reach to 60%, it makes you go over the threshold, considering the projects. Gatekeepers.
Yeah,
okay.
sorry. Yeah, gatekeepers.
Yeah, sure.
What do you mean by gatekeepers?
By gatekeepers. Gatekeepers means some important people in some important positions. For instance, you are applying for a fund. Let's say it's a scholarship. You are going to apply for Chevening scholarship. So if you know some people from British Embassy, maybe they cannot help you in terms of choosing you in your application, but they can provide you some clues about how they consider these applications, what is the process. And if you have some ideas about this issue, you can be much more comfortable when you're applying. These are gatekeepers. So it can be not always a very, very important person. Sometimes even the scholarship holders can be gatekeepers because they know the issue, they know the community, they know the rules. So these are gatekeepers. Thank you for these kinds of questions. Please be always ready to ask these kinds of questions. Let's make it much more interactive. So after this phase, this idea phase, we in the projects have a visibility study phase, which is analysis phase. Actually, we have 5 analyses, which are condition, partner, problem, target, and strategy analysis. Yeah, this is a very important stage to know, to understand if our idea is feasible or not. But of course, these are the parts of the PCM training, project cycle management training. I am not elaborate all of them, but I just would like to say something about one of them, the last one, the strategy analysis. Okay, so you know the game on the left side, it's chess, but do you know the games on the right side? This one and this one. What do you think? Risk. Is it tech in Spanish? We call it tech. Yeah. But does it mean risk in Spanish also, or something else? Tactics. Okay, tactics. Yeah. Interesting. In Turkey, we also use risk, but we also a very similar game, which is called as secret target, but actually it is completely risk. So what about the game at below? This one. This is a computer game. I hope someone played it because I lasted very long time. Yes, Mirta answered, even though she says she's not a gamer. Okay, she knows it. Yeah, it is Age of Empires. It's Age of Empires. But next question is coming. Why? These are strategy games. These are all strategy games. We know that. But what makes these games strategy games? What is special about these games? Why do we call them as strategy games? Tell me your opinions. Because strategy analysis is one of the important things in project programming or planning stage. You have to plan? Yes. Depends on the other party's decisions. You are right. Input and output. This is a little more interesting. Okay, go on. I think it's pretty creative at the moment. Closer to your goal to figure out an action. Yes, these are okay, but actually, I am looking for a little, maybe a few more keywords. Nobody used the completely clear keywords. Okay. You know, in advance, okay, this is also okay. But there can be a much more clear answer. Uses game theory. Okay, we went to advanced level now. Maybe a little easier. Players start with almost nothing and to build up. Well, it is partially true. I think they start with something. You need to predict, but in many of the games you have to predict, actually, Damian. Okay. Now, one more thing. Okay, let me explain. The thing is here that you have some limitations. What is the limitation in this game? You have a board, you have a certain board, and you have some elements, some pawns, and you have horse, you have queen, or some pawns. They have different functions, but they have limited functions. Think that you are playing chess by only using queens. So it's a completely different game. It's not chess anymore. Think about this game. You have a board, and if you play this game, probably you are familiar. There are different continents in the game, and some continents provides more soldiers, and they have some more benefits, but it is really hard to get those continents like Asia. And for instance, having the Australia is easier, but its benefits are lower. So similarly, in Age of Empires, you have some resources, as you can see here. There is meat, gold, stone, wood, those kinds of stuff. So, which means you have to use a combination of them. You have to find an optimum point for them. If you use all of them, if you try to do everything in these games, you can't do anything. So, you have to reach an optimum combination of these resources. The projects are similar. So you have to define your borders because you don't have unlimited resources. Draw your project's borders by strategic decisions. I have seen many projects, but probably the worst projects are the projects, those claims to do everything, those claims to solve every problems. So this is not realistic. Okay. So when we come to micro levels, what makes a good project in micro levels? As you know, these are fairy tales. And the first one is relevance. Relevance is related to a proper design. And
sorry, we have a question in the chat. What was the buzzword?
Buzzword? What is buzzword actually?
What do you mean, Annie? What was your question?
Yeah, I can't get the question clearly. Buzzword. Oh, okay. Okay. It was the resources. It was the resources. Yeah. The word was resources. Using the resources according to our limits. Thank you. Thank you for contribution. Okay. So what makes a good project in micro level? First one is relevance. You have to design your project relevantly. It must be relevant. You have to answer some needs, especially the needs of the funding mechanism, your funding country, your funding international institution. So if you are having an EU project, for instance, you have to answer the needs of EU and Turkey together. You have to find something in between. And secondly, efficiency. Efficiency means good implementation of the activities. So low delays, high visibility, doing your activities efficiently, timely, doing all of your activities. These are important things. And then effectiveness. Effectiveness means achieving to the results. So these are not just, projects are not just activities. Okay, activities are elements of the project, but you have to achieve some results. As you remember, probably you remember from this tale, yeah, these animals are coming together and they are frightening the burglars in the house. So they are achieving a result. And then they are going to the house and using the house. So this is a result. But you are having some trainings. You are having some opening, closing activities, preparing reports. These are just activities. These are not results. And from this micro level to the macro level, the next one is impact. Impact means change something. For instance, in a gender equality project in the educational system, maybe you have done some trainings to make people aware of gender equality issues, and you have created some curriculum. This is effectiveness. Creation of curriculum is effectiveness. Using the curriculum in the educational system is effectiveness. Having some activities, creating some documents, providing some trainings is efficiency. But what is impact? Maybe after a certain point, some trainers, some teachers, even some students understand something about gender equality. They started to behave differently. So this is an impact. So what is our target in the projects? To achieve an impact. Finally, sustainability is important. Sustainability means continuation of effects after the end of implementation. So when the project ends, not everything have to end. We have to maintain the effects of the results. We have to do something for that. So sustainability is important, and these 5 criteria are actually international OECD criteria for project monitoring. And we can explain the same thing by using another example. This is actually, yeah, completely same thing, but using iRobot. Probably you know. Has anyone read the story of, let's say, novel of iRobot? Who belongs? Who has written iRobot? You know? Any idea? I like actually science fiction so much. And it is from one of the famous novelists of science fiction. Yes. True. Isaac Asimov also they have recorded a movie. They shot a movie also, I think. But the book is also very important as a milestone in the science fiction. So I use this metaphor to explain the same thing. Relevance is something about our mind, and effectiveness is about our body, our torso. Efficiency is something like doing the things not correctly, but efficiently. So it's like our hands. And impact is our shadow, and sustainability may be our feet. So this is another metaphor to explain the same thing. Okay, I have 10 minutes, no problem. I am closing to end. And another thing is that visibility is more important than you think. In this example, we see the Titanic and a boat just ran away from the Titanic. Luckily, they have saved their lives, and the crew says that we are lucky. Not all the lifeboats have project logo on board. This is the case in our example. The logo, these kinds of things, the visuals are very, very important. Because think that you have an institution, let's say a company, and a country or someone builds a very great infrastructure by using your funds, let's say a very big bridge, and you come to opening event of the bridge and you don't see anything about your company. So of course, it is not acceptable. If you are funding something, you expect to see your name, your logo, your advertisement, your visuals is very important. And most of the cuts in the funds are coming from the visibility issues. So visibility is much more important than you think. Luckily, we are living in the time of visibility, actually. You can do visibility at any place on the internet. It is much more easy at the moment. So, well, another point is being flexible and realistic, but don't be hyper realistic. Just be flexible. But if you be hyper realistic, then you can't do anything. Please remember that there is no excellent project. Just try to make something working, something you can do, and something functioning. Okay, maybe the last point, bad practices are actually your friends. They help you to improve yourself, but you have to be open to improve yourself. Well, I have seen many bad practices at the beginning. For instance, there were very horrible translation fails. For instance, in one project, maybe it was the first project I have monitored, they were doing everything by using Google Translate. But at that time, Google Translate was not functioning that well. But they are just doing everything by using Google Translate. And there were some very horrible translations. Sometimes they created some very funny results. For instance, we have a sector called home affairs, which means, as you can understand, domestic affairs, but they translated it as house affairs, which doesn't make any sense. These kinds of fails, we see many of these kinds of fails, but by the time people overcome these kinds of things. In one issue, I had a very interesting experience. We were receiving some applications and we were answering to these applications. And after monitoring, assessing the application, we returned to the applicant and said that some of your documents are missing. Can you send these documents? And he said that I haven't applied to that program. So this is so interesting. And I have another thing about the off-the-record phenomena. In Turkey, maybe in some countries, it is very similar. At the beginning of the project monitoring stage, you go to an institution, and at the beginning, there is a border. And it's not so easy to overcome that border. But after a certain stage, after you overcome that first border, people tell everything about the project. And at that, they always say off the record, okay, I am telling everything about the project. Actually, there are many fails. There's an epic fail. There are great problems, but please don't write them. These are off the record. So the question is that how can I write my report there? So these are really some of the bad practices, but when I return and look to my monitoring history, I always remember them by smiling, because actually they gave us the best things. So the bad practices are not that bad, but you have to be open for the changes. So just a summary, what skills you need? First, you have to work analytically. If you like to conduct projects, working analytically, summarizing everything is important. You have to stay excited. Please be excited. Please find some ways to keep yourself excited. Maybe some humor, maybe some games, gamification. These kinds of things are important. Secondly, you have to improve your language, but it's not easy. We all know it's not that easy. But I think the scholarships are great opportunities to do it. Like Mirta and I have come up with together in Shivning Scholarship. So it is a great opportunity, in my opinion. Then network is very important. And how can you improve your network? I think the first way is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great platform. Please use it. It is free. Please open an account and use it. And secondly, CSOs and NGOs. These are great places to discover yourself. To discover your creativity, maybe some of your sides, your creative sides, or your problems. Go to CSOs or NGOs and do some voluntary work. This is the basic. CSO means actual NGO. It is the similar thing. Go and do something. It can be related to anything, but go and do some voluntary work. This is important to discover yourself. And you need to try. When I was in high school, I was trying to solve some mathematical questions. And my mathematics teacher was saying that actually you're reading the question and you're reading the solution. You have to solve it. You have to try to solve it. So I can't say don't read or don't watch. Okay, read, watch. There are so many possibilities in the PCM projects about everything. You can find Udemy, Coursera, even there is a great bunch of resources on YouTube. But the basic thing is that you need to try because you need to fail. This is the rule. You have time for changes. So be brave as much as possible. when I look through my personal history, probably I would like to change this thing in my life. I would like to be much more brave because we need to fail actually. So at the end, if you like to idea of projects, if you like to do projects, you have to Google something about PCM, which means PCM, project cycle management. You have to Google about Agile, Scrum, maybe gamification can be another approach. So these are important keywords. And by the slide, I am reaching to the end. Let me check the questions. Yes, civil society organizations. Yes, you have to break the perfectionism. It's true. Perfectionism sometimes is okay, it's acceptable, but hyperrealism is not realistic. So don't be perfectionist, try to do it. By the time everything is going to be better. So yes.
Hi, Arda. I took the liberty of writing this because when you were summarizing, I thought that was a very perfect summarize of a very big, powerful idea, which is that the biggest project you will ever work on is ourself, right? Like, and the tips you were sharing was perfect for that. Like just what you said, right? Like keep on learning, be brave, improve your network, and well, of course, related to project management, there are so many great things to learn. You just shared many resources on where we can find more tools to keep on learning. But like you said, like everything is a project, and ourselves even, we are like I think that the most important project we have is ourselves, right? So I think that what you share is super, super interesting. Do we have any question to tackle before we leave? What do you mean, Osama, when you ask? Sarah asked if you're a gamer. I think we all know the question.
Of course, gamer. Yeah, I like games so much, particularly strategy games. Yeah, of course, I am a gamer.
Yes. Well, Arda, that was super great. Here we have Arda's LinkedIn. You can add him and ask him anything. You can perhaps if there's a specific question we haven't covered, you can reach out to him and first of all add him to your LinkedIn account. Remember the importance of having a very active LinkedIn account, and then you can ask him anything you may want. So Arda, it was a pleasure having you. That was super interesting. I do know something about project management, but I learned so much more. I think that was really insightful. Can you suggest any books on this topic?
Well, not a particular book, but if I were you, I would benefit from YouTube and Coursera, Udemy stuff. There are great stuff on these kinds of websites. And yeah, Udemy, Coursera, Khan Academy, even YouTube is pretty okay, in my opinion. Then after that, my suggestion will be trying, of course. And for some specific questions, I am always available on LinkedIn. Please ask me, please reach me, please add me, and please be comfortable to reach me, because the project making, these kinds of things are always related to having a network, as I argued. Please be open, and I am always here to help. Of course, these are not everything about the projects, but I just provide a view about the projects, some important issues. But this is a huge road or even Orion about the projects. You can do many things. You can earn from this sector. So I am always here, and I thank you for this opportunity to be here. It was so nice to see a Chevening scholar after for a long time, even if we haven't met face to face.
For those of you who are not familiar with the Chevening Scholarship is a scholarship scheme. It is not in every part of the world, unfortunately, but in most of the world. This is a scholarship from the British government to do a master's degree in the UK. And it is a great opportunity because you get to choose your desired university. So we both went to great universities in the UK thanks to this scholarship. So, and as you realized, Arda loves learning. I love learning. We love learning and improving ourselves and then sharing what we learn with other people. So, well, thank you, Arda, so much for being here today. Remember, everyone, that you have 2 coaching calls as part of your program. So if you haven't taken your coaching call and you received the email, please reach out. If you have, if not, you will probably receive an email to book your coaching call. This is an opportunity to reflect on your next steps for professional steps and perhaps some ideas on what you want to do next. So take advantage of these. Remember, you can also watch our previous webinars in our YouTube channel. And a big thank you. Gracias, shukran. I don't know how to say gracias in Turkish. Arda, sorry for that. Yeah. So thank you everyone for being here today. Gracias. And wish you all a great day. Bye.